at this picture and maybe for 30 seconds. I think it will be a good idea if you can have a look at the picture for 30 seconds and I'll ask you a couple of questions. Your time. Sorry, it took a little more than 30 seconds. So the first question that I have for you is from the bare rocks, okay, that is from this stage, from the bare rocks to the shade tolerant trees. Can someone tell me the approximate time span over here? Approximate order of magnitude. I mean, in terms of years, decades, months, centuries, 1,000 years, 400 years, okay. So 1,000 years means what you're essentially saying is if there was a bare rock, let's say by 10th century AD, historically, we would have a fully grown forest here, okay. 400 years is so the Mughal dynasty to now, okay. Any other answer? Oh, PPT not visible, huh? Sorry. Is everyone also facing the same issue? Nigar says millions of years, okay. Million years, okay. Vanshika says million years. Anyone for 10,000, 1,000, 10,000? Okay, great. So let's, Prachi, can you check if PPT is visible now? Is anyone else also not able to see the PPT, guys? Can you just check? Otherwise, I'll maybe stop share and then reshare. Oh, okay, now it's visible. Okay, thanks. Thanks for confirming. So this timeline, ecology, and the clue here was the word primary. I'll come to then what is a secondary. So this is primary succession. So primary succession means from bare rock, okay. Then there is agents of weathering. So there is sunlight, then there is heat, then there's rock breaks. Then when the rock breaks and let's say it is close to the shore, you have lichens and mosses, which are, you know, like on the surface of the rocks. Then slowly over a period of time, there are small annual plants and lichens. From there, you move on. You're able to see this area. This is your grasses. From grasses, can you see this here? The height. The height is approximately increasing. Yeah, and maybe the variety is also increasing. So height is increasing. So the first definition, when it comes to definition of ecological succession, is moving from one set of species, means there were multiple types of mosses or lichens, to multiple types of trees, shade tolerant trees, which is once again several set of species. So what do we call species 1 plus species 2 plus species 3? We call it as community. So moving from one community, which community 1, which had one type of configuration, which is small plants and lichens, to a completely different set of community, which has a different type of species over a geological time scale. Over what? Geological time scale. So now that's the clue, which means it could be easily few lakhs to few millions of years. millions of years. Now, in this whole process, okay, if you have cracked this, you have understood this. Why does it take million years and why not something like 1,000 years or 500 years? The answer is in this picture itself. If you look closely, there is something which takes millions of years, which enables the community to be a climax community having trees and all. What is that something? It's actually a one-letter word or maybe two-letter word. Excellent, guys. Super. Soil. Soil is the answer. It's the soil formation. If you look at it, there is bare rock, lichens, then you have small animal plants. The beauty is, it's somehow when I first time saw this picture, it almost looked like symmetrical to me, which means as the depth of soil increases, are you able to see this? As the depth of soil increases, what is happening? The height of tree also increases. I mean, this is not like, biologically or botany wise, this is not the right thing, but it is easy for you to remember. More the soil, greater the depth of the soil, more complex is the community that can survive on a soil base. Yeah. So the simple answer to the question is why geological timescale? So if someone feels that why is the geological timescale, the answer to that is soil formation. It is because of the time that it takes for the soil to form. That is the defining factor because of which the whole succession is a phenomena that spreads over few lakhs or millions of years. Now in this, okay, so we have understood the key parts. Now certain definitions. Now those species which are formed at the start, like lichens, small annual plants, they are called as pioneer species. We all understand pioneer, no? He was a pioneer. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a pioneer of social reform movements in, let's say, a particular part of India. Yeah, so he was a pioneer. You may say, in a different context, you may say Ford was a pioneer when it comes to cars. Yeah, maybe history may judge that Elon Musk was a pioneer when it comes to electric vehicles, possibly, or privatization of rocket launches. Okay, so that's pioneer. Then is the intermediate species, which is not very difficult to understand. So neither they are pioneer nor are they climax. Climax communities are the last set of communities. There is nothing beyond them because they are very stable. They are very stable. Nothing. There is no new type of community possible after the climax community. That's the end. That's why they are called as climax communities. Okay. So we looked at the time scale, the reason for the time scale, the time taken for the formation of soil, definition of pioneer species, climax community, and there was one more part I forgot. Pioneer, climax. Just a second. Yeah, I think more or less we've covered. There is one part. What I'll now do is this whole process, all of you rightly said, it takes millions of years. I'll give you a scenario now. The scenario is we are already in this stage. There was a good forest, but what happened? There was a flood. So much so that the forest was inundated, means let's say 4 or 5 feet of water it was there for a few days. The trees all died. All the trees died, which means now the area that had forest is absolutely nothing, barren. It's just soil. Now, can you tell me how long will it take for the forest to come back to its original climax community? How long do you think it will take for the forest? Because here also it is starting from the scratch, no? Nothing, means the flood had taken it away, or you assume forest fires. The forest fires are completely burned down. Yeah, absolutely, Arun and Weber. It will take only few years. Now, this is also succession because it started with zero and then it has reached its climax community. But this kind of a succession is called a secondary succession. The fundamental difference between primary and secondary succession is the presence of soil to a good depth in the secondary succession, which was not present in the primary succession. And therefore, Vaibhav answering as 50 to 80, or Arun also saying in few decades. So it's only a question of the flood has ravaged the entire forest, but there are, let's say, some seeds or some agents of pollinations have come. They have dropped in some pollen, and one tree, or let's say small grasses and perennials have grown, bigger trees have grown, large trees have grown, and the forest, the lost glory of the forest is restored maximum, let's say, in 100 years. Now, this is an example of secondary succession. Okay. Now, we talked about pioneer species. We talked about climax community. So each stage is called as a series. SERES. They are called as the intermediate stages. So between pioneer and climax community, what you find sandwiched between these two stages is called as the intermediate species or the series. Yeah, I think that's all we have. Okay. So it is because of the soil is well developed, that you have the secondary succession, which is much faster than the primary succession.